Good morning, everyone. I see some folks logging in, so I will give everyone a few minutes. A few housekeeping items. Everyone is muted. You will be able to raise your hand and chat in Zoom meeting. If you could let me know that you guys can see my screen, we'll get started here in a couple minutes. Okay, great. We'll go ahead and get started for our weekly Wednesday webinar. For this week, our topic is the basics in Sage 100 contractor reports and form design. We have one client of ours that's currently implementing, so I'm hopeful that this information is going to be really helpful during that process. And for those of you that have been using Sage 100 Contractor, hopefully all of this, maybe some tips will kind of just keep things fresh in your mind and help you to remember to perform best practices as you're editing and customizing specific documents and all of that. So we'll go ahead and get started. Again, my name is Leilani. I am with TAG. We serve the construction industry with our specialty and service on construction software technology. So anything from timekeeping solutions to document management. And today our focus will be on the basics and just kind of tips and tricks within the reports and forms design tool in Sage 100 Contractor. So for anyone who is not familiar or is not a user of Sage 100 Contractor, the reports and forms design tool is built into Sage 100 Contractor. So it's an aspect of every report and form that you get as an option when you're going to print out that form. And we're going to just cover how to use those basic features. So editing your layout, what the difference is between reports and forms within Sage 100 Contractor. Little things like changing fonts and adding in graphics. And then also how to save those customized documents that you have, because it is a little bit tricky and there are some things that can be done to help you better take advantage of those custom creations. And then lastly, we'll throw in some tips and tricks throughout the presentation. Hopefully that will be either a reminder for you or allow you to try something new. Okay, so the first thing we'll talk about is the difference between reports and forms within 100 Contractor. So the language here is specific to 100 Contractor. Forms will refer to the headers and the footers of every report. So every report, whether you're looking at a purchase order or an invoice, it has specific parts, and the form specifically refers to the header and the footer of that document. When you're talking about the report portion of that document, you're talking about that tabular data grid within the software, and that gets pulled into the body or the center of that report or document. And we'll show that here. So here you'll see, you're seeing the subcontract screen in Sage 100 Contractor. Everything that you see up in the top area, so the job information, dates, things like that, this gets pulled into the header. So that will be specifically the header. Below here, all this information will go into the footer, and then anything in this tabular grid will go into the report. So you want to make sure that you're, very specific, and when you're in the report writer, you know that this is all where it's coming from. This is where it's going. So that same subcontract as a canned report out of Stage 100 Contractor looks just like this. So very, very simple, nothing super complicated about that, but this is kind of the format that every one of the forms, so your change orders look a lot like this, purchase orders, things like that. So that's how you'll manipulate that information and where it'll end up. So let's talk about how to edit these specific pieces. So if you are looking to edit that header, so specifically you might have a particular format for your header for each company that you're dealing with. So you might have, or maybe even division. So you might have a different logo or some different information that you want to pull in for that specific division or department. You would then go to the report printing screen, and you would hit edit and go to form design. You can also hit Control F. So remember, Control F, there's all these shortcut keys that you can utilize within the software. Control F will take you to that form design so that you can edit that header. If you hit Modify Report, and this button is not available on every single document, but it is pretty prevalent among most of the reports and forms and documents in the system. So if it's there, you got this. This button will allow you to modify that tabular grid and all of the columns that you'll see and where that layout will look. So a couple of tips: don't forget, use schedule reports as much as you can. So that's this here. So if you can save a particular report. I have one client who remodels custom homes, and his investors want specific, particular formats, easy to read, and pretty updates on those jobs. We've helped him utilize the software to kind of automate that piece of updating his investors. So it's nice and pretty, gives a good representation of how things are going so that he can ensure he's going to continue to get money from these guys. So utilize that as much as you can. Also send electronically or by fax anytime you need to. If something isn't received, easily do this within seconds. So utilize that. And then also Excel. You can send all of this information into Excel, so then you can manipulate that. So absolutely great little features that you want to remember to utilize as much as you can to kind of save as much time as you can. So let's move on to what that form design looks like. So this is the screen that will allow you to edit the form portion or the header. So you'll see the portion that you're allowed to edit. Everything in gray here is going to be that tabular grid. So you won't see that unless you hit the Modify Report button. You have this selection tool that will allow you, if you create a box and select everything at once, you can easily then click on this icon, which will allow you to all at once edit the font and make it look a lot more in line with how you'd like it to look. So once you do that, you'll have everything that you want up in the header. What you'll want to do is then scroll down to the bottom and make everything match in the footer. You can select these items and hit right-click to be able to modify those specific particular items, maybe the placement on the header, so how it's aligned. That's something that's really handy. So you can right click and then hit properties, and I'll show you that in a minute. Another tip here something to remember. So a lot of the forms and reports within Sage 100 Contractor, they have a version of that document that pulls in the notes in that record. So that post-it note up at the top, usually around here, you can have unlimited characters utilized in there. So some people use it for legalese if they don't want to use it on a specific template for everything, or you know, if they have specific notes that need to be detailed in all of their documents, this would be a great place to put it in the notes section. So rather than utilizing it for, some clients have used it for, you know, internally, just notes that, you know, don't make a lot of sense when you pull it into a document, you kind of lose that capability of using it to easily just put in a whole bunch of detail at once for all of your documents to make everything look nice. So definitely take advantage of that if you can, or if you'd like to, because it's something that can be handy. Okay, so this is the object properties. So you can, you know, insert a picture or some text. What you'll do is right-click on the object, whether it's a logo or a photo or the text, right-click on it, and then you'll have some details about the position and the size. So the size is here and the position where it's at. So if you want to make sure something lines up, you can always refer to these boxes here to make sure, you know, everything in this column lines up at the same number here. And then you can make things bolded, underlined, do the size here, and then you can even use this here to modify the text rather than using your cursor to go over it. Then you could change the colors here. There's a back color and a fore color, and then the alignment as well. So just some simple and easy things that you could do to modify things. Okay, so now that you've worked on the header, you want to save that form. You want to save that header. So what I did here was I just hit save, this little save disk here, and then create a name that you can refer to for that header. So you want to remember that this is the header that everything that you pull from whatever document or report, whatever tabular grid you're pulling into, it's going to go into this header and footer. So you can create a name that's going to work for you. If it's something that you want to make available to your whole company, you can do here. You've got a number of different options. Hit save, and you're good to go with the header and footer. And then this is what that's going to look like. I changed, you know, the format of the typical subcontract agreement. I added the word agreement here. Did some really tiny changes, but it makes a big difference. So, you know, everything's nice and lines up really cleanly, but you'll notice here that the tabular portion is not matching because we haven't touched the report section. So what we'll do next, is look at the report. So if you hit the modify report button, this is what you're going to get, which is very similar in function to editing the form or the header portion. You'll select, all I did was I selected everything using this selection button, changed the font to match the header, and then when you go to save it, this is the important thing that you want to look at. The system comes with specific numbers along the side of the report names, and the last two digits is the report number. So in the system, I believe it's 21 and up is all of the CAN reports. So what you want to do is utilize the digits above that. So I did 01 here. I saved it as a report only I can see, but you know, you can do whatever you feel. Hit save. Now, one tip that I want to mention, be mindful of your file names, because unlike when you're using Word document and you save a file, or PDF and you save a file, a revision to a previous one, it'll say, hey, do you want to replace the existing file name? And then, you could catch it and say, oh, no, I want to save that old one and then create this new template as well. This doesn't happen in Sage, so it won't tell you that you're overwriting a previous file. So make sure you know what numbers are available for you to, or what file names are available for you to use, so that you're not overwriting a template that you've already created and saved and then will no longer be available. So that's a nice tip that sometimes I forget, so definitely something important for you. Okay, so the last thing is, when you go to print these, you've done the header, you've done the report, the tabular portion, and you're ready to print this. What you'll do is go to the report printing. You'll see this 01 here is my new report, my new tabular type of edit. And then report form, the header, is where you'll have your saved headers. So I have this tag letterhead that I want to pull it onto. So what you'll do is select this, and then select the drop down, select tag letter, and then you'll hit print. Now, another tip is definitely when you're trying to just look at your forms, there is a preview when you're in the report writer or the form writer, and it doesn't show you exactly what it looks like. So I always save it, and then I will go ahead and actually print preview as if I'm going to go print it. And then I'll just, save multiple revisions until I'm ready, because that'll give you the actual look of what it's going to look like. And let me show you. So everything that I did was just really simple, not very complicated at all. And let me show you what those look like here. 1 second here. Okay, so so this is the final product, what we created, a subcontract agreement that is pretty much in line with what was already there. Nothing super fancy, but just is a little bit more what I prefer. And this is the original one here, so you could take a look at that. Really quick, really super easy type of edits that I made. But as you can see, when you look at the document, it looks a lot different. So that's the basics of reports and forms design. If anyone has any questions, feel free to raise a hand and I can unmute at this time. We have some great Sage certified consultants that have been working with this system for many, many years. They can do a lot of really great and specific things. So if you have a report or a form that you'd like to use, we've done the AGC form before, and some specific reports, feel free to come to us with your wish list and we can let you know what it would take and how long it would take to get a report to look just like that. Usually we can tweak something that is already in the system, but we're happy to also just create something from scratch. That's something that our consultants have done many times before. So if you guys don't have any questions, please remember you can always email us as well with any requests or, again, any questions. I appreciate your time. This recording will also be made available as a video that you could share with the rest of your team. I hope you guys have a great week, and I really enjoyed speaking with you today. Thanks so much.